right? Like when the situation happened with Black Lives Matter and the houses and all of that, I was texting like, hey, help me understand. One,
is that the person that they said took the money?
Yeah, nobody ever said she took a dime. That's the thing.
What did they say?
So what they do is they write headlines a certain way so that when you read it, you're confused about what's really being said.
I'm confused.
They said she bought a house for $6 million. First of all, what they try, and they're so good at what they do. They've been doing the same thing forever and ever and ever and ever. Any person that is leading a movement that raises any type of money or that's some type of threat, you're in the newspaper for stealing or something.
Because it triggers emotion.
Black people. Oh yeah. So what happened was the first story they came out with was that she had all of these properties in her name, right? And so they were trying to say that the reason why she had these houses, a $1 million house in LA, which we know in LA, a $1 million house, that's no money for a house. So she had this house and that house, and her mother and brother lived in one, and her family, whatever. So they were saying that, that was because she was taking money from the organization. Then they went through the records of the organization, and she said she never collected a salary. She is a speaker that, she speaks at schools. She's a professor. She has a deal with Warner Brothers, some type of content deal. I don't know.
So she made her money.
So the lady's out there making money, and her mindset, and I know her, so I've had these conversations with her, so I can say it. She's a person that believes go buy property, right? Like like some people, that's what they do. Some people they think it's stocks. Other people save their cash in the bank. Like everybody has different. Everybody's got their thing. So from her mindset, it's buy property so you can keep your money tucked somewhere and grow, right? So she was buying properties. I think she was, pretty smart. She never really collected a major salary from the organization at all. So when that story died and was really nothing they could do with it, the next thing they found out was that so Black Lives Matter, the organization, had a $6 million property, and people went crazy. So I asked too, because if it were me, and she and I've had this conversation, it's not a secret, I would have bought a building, hired 24-hour lawyers, 24-hour hotline where you could call, get help, get lawyers, get this, that, and the third. And I probably would, and Until Freedom, we would have had a building in New York, in Atlanta, somewhere else. That's what we would have done, right? First. One, because you already know perception is reality. So people gonna be thinking you did something wrong, so you have to make sure your first thing you do is this. But again, think about the mindset of this person. $100 million comes in. She's automatically thinking we need to buy property, have an endowment, try to make sure this money lasts and that it lives. The property wasn't in her name. It was Black Lives Matter's property. It's still in their name, the name of the organization. She's gone and they still own the property. But the way that the articles are written, she bought a house. Well, what do you mean she bought a house? She did a transaction because she's the head of the organization. But the house was never in her name. It still belongs to an organization. And what's most important is that they tell you all of this about a $6 million house, which again, I would not have done that first. But guess what they don't tell you? Her and her organization, the group, they gave away $34 million to grassroots organizations and or families who've been impacted by violence, by police or other types of violence. They did that at the same time. So they raised $100 million. They gave away $34 million, and they bought a $6 million house.
But the house isn't being used for anything.
The house, well, the purpose, because
it's just they're very that they could continue to raise money for Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, so they have because today you have money and tomorrow they don't like you and you don't, right? So it was an investment property, but in the property they have it's a studio for them to be able to do things like this. They had I think it was like a center. I'm not in the organization, so I'm just going by what they told me and what I was able to piece together. They have a place where people could go there, activists who may need a place to stay, people having mental breakdowns, because we go through that trauma. So it was set up for an artsy community, a safe space. That's a perfect way. Exactly. It's like a safe house, right? So I get it. People could have an issue with it, and you could ask, because I asked, and I also gave my critique of the order in which things happen. But the pushback is, and it's in the records. There are articles out there. If people would actually do the reading, it says $34 million was given to organizations and grassroots groups, and they still have been giving money even since she's been gone.